you believe you have more to do. You weren't done. You were spared for a reason.
Well, God believes that, I guess.
Not one to be upstaged by Oprah, who, of course, handed Dr. Phil his entire career on a silver platter. And Oprah endorsing Kamala Harris last week, Dr. Phil ensured that he wanted to get out there in front of the cameras to interview Reverend Trump on his deep connection to God. Following the attempt on his life, this is at least the portion of the interview that's been released. It's 20 minutes of just this discussion, and it is insane. So I'm going to play for you a few clips, and I'm going to intersperse this with various details about how wonderful and religious Donald Trump is. His many favorite Bible verses, not to mention the God Bless the USA Bible that he sold for $60. But putting all that aside, how he uses religion for his own benefit, let's get to the first clip of this interview.
So why were you spared? You've had to reflect on this alone in the middle of the night in a golf cart riding down the way thinking about it. How do you answer that? Why were you spared?
So there had to be some great power, because you just can't say millions to one, millions to one. I used to say 1,000,000 to 1. It's much more than that, because, again, you have to pull down the sign. There has to be a reason to go right, and I never go right. There's no reason. And not only go right, it's for about 1/8 of a second. It's not just right. It's out of all the time that we're on this planet, it's 1/8 of a second, right? So I shouldn't be with you. So
is there a purpose?
Well,
is there a reason you think you were spared?
I mean, the only thing I can think is that God loves our country and he thinks we're going to bring our country back. He wants to bring it back. It's so bad right now what's happening when you look at the crime, the horrible things that are happening inside our country, and it can be solved. It can be solved fairly quickly.
Of course, God saved Trump because he's worried about the crime rate. No, hunger, no. Poverty, forget about it. Destruction of the environment, no. God saved Trump because he wants to increase the crime rate, because it's been lower since Trump left office. Even this Bloomberg columnist here, who didn't think so, realized he was wrong. I didn't think Biden affected crime rates. I was wrong. When you look at the data, the president deserves some credit for the decline. And look, I'm not going to make the whole video about this, but I'll link to this below the video. You can go through it yourself. FBI crime data shows this. The wave crested soon after Trump left office. So it's all very clear. But I want to, before I get to the next clip, the beginning of that, the question from Dr. Phil. You must have reflected on why you were spared. This reminded me of my favorite Trump quote, because this speaks to who Donald Trump is. This is a direct Trump quote from 2014. I don't like to analyze myself because I might not like what I see. Is there a more revealing quote than this? I actually don't think Trump's really reflected about what this means and why I maybe he thinks about it in the sense of how he can use it for his own benefit. I don't think he has any greater thoughts about life generally. And we'll get to Dr. Phil brings up his family later. We'll get to that. But like, this is the direct quote here. No, I don't want to think about it, he said when Mr. D'Antonio asked him to contemplate the meaning of his life. I don't like to analyze myself because I might not like what I see. Does Trump really seem to you like somebody who reflects, like who considers his actions in any way, who thinks about his purpose? No, it's all about how can he further himself, how can he make more money, how can he get more eyeballs on. That's all this is about. It's all vanity. It's all it's ever been about. And now it's about this election, about protecting him from liability, from criminal liability. Now, let me get to the next clip where they go a little deeper on God.
It has to be God. I mean,
to be
how
the
can
hand
you
of
say
God.
it's luck when it's 20 million to 1? Okay, I mean, it's just not possible that I was in that position. It's the only position where that bullet could have missed.
And you believe in God?
I do.
You believe God's hand was in this that day?
I believe so, yeah, I do.
And You talk about the country. You believe you have more to do. You weren't done. You were spared for a reason.
Well, God believes that, I guess. We'll have to see. Number one, I'm in an election with a very vicious group of people. I won the election against Biden. I was up by 17 or 18 points after the debate. And they said, you know what, he's going to lose. They went and told him he's going to lose and we're going to change you out. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. In fact, he said, only God will change me. But so who knows what happened there?
What? Biden said only God could push him out of the race, and then Biden was pushed out of the race? Whose God can we trust? I like how Trump feels like you can see he like catches himself there. Putting a competing God on the table against the God that saved his life. Just this whole conversation is so stupid. Maybe it's just life. Life happens and things happen in life, and there's chances and luck, and maybe there isn't this God figure looking down and moving the chess pieces around. Maybe that is not happening because that's absolutely insane. Maybe it's just life and things happen in life. But I'm the crazy one apparently. So this whole clip, there is so much in this clip because he also says again in this clip that he won the election against Biden, which he didn't. So again, the election denial. I'll get to a bit of that in a second, but this is another example of how Trump is attempting to use this phoniness, this love of religion or of God, to try and get him the election. He's trying to get sympathy from people here. Oh, I've changed. God saved my life. It's destiny. I must win the election now. After I gave that adult film actress $130,000, God knew that I was the one. Just ridiculous. This is how much Trump loves God.
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book. And you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what one or two of your most favorite Bible verses are and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it because to me that's very personal. When I talk about the Bible, it's very personal. So I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into.
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like?
No, I don't want to do that.
You're an Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible, the whole Bible is an incredible, I joke very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time. But I just think the Bible is just something very special.
I'm sorry. Nobody can possibly believe this man. And here's the fact. They don't believe him. Just 8% of people who have a positive view of Trump think he's very religious. Now, 51% still think he is somewhat religious, which I think is insane. But very few people think he is very religious, of even his own supporters. So nobody believes this bullshit. He recently put this on sale. God Bless the USA Bible for $60. The only Bible endorsed by Donald Trump. It's so ridiculous. Not to mention Michael Cohen's recent book here. I'm going to pull up a few quotes here. So Michael Cohen, who is Trump's lawyer forever, so Trump loathes Christians and mocks their faith, but pretends to believe if it suits his purposes. He quotes Trump calling Christianity and its religious practices bullshit, and then sued after, masterfully posing as a fervent believer. In truth, Cohen writes, Trump's religion is unbridled lust for money and power at all costs to others. You know this is true. Trump's repeated and public denouncements of Christians as fools, idiots, and schmucks. And in extensive writing and speeches, Trump has declared his philosophy is revenge. That stance is aggressively anti-Christian, obviously. Like, nobody believes this garbage. Last clip here. This one is really fun because Dr. Phil asks Trump about his family, and watch how Trump just completely avoids the question.
Has this changed you? Has it changed your appreciation for life? Has it changed anything about you? Did you hug your kids extra hard? I mean, has it changed you?
A lot of people ask me, and a lot of people say, like, have you developed any fear of, doing this? Like, Because look, being president's a dangerous job. It's much more dangerous than a race car driver or than anything. It's probably the most dangerous profession if you think about it. Just go up and down the list. So you have 46 and numerous left early or got hit. It's a very dangerous job. I never realized how dangerous, but I was at the border yesterday and they were a dangerous place. He allowed it. He and her allowed it to become dangerous.
May I remind you, the question was, has this changed you? Did you hug your kids extra hard? And 56 seconds later, we end on, the border is very dangerous. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Oh, terrible on the border. Trump is completely incapable of any self-reflection, even faking it. Like, he brings up, oh, people say this is a dangerous job. He doesn't even say if he fears the job more. Like, there's nothing there. There's no self-reflection, no feeling, nothing. Because again, Trump doesn't do self-reflection. He may not like what he sees. Just an incredible interview in the most disgusting way. Dr. Phil spent decades on television interviewing people who he saw right through, who were full of shit, and he caught them in lies, and he was, he saw right through them. You can't see through the biggest bullshitter on the planet? Like, I'm sure he has to, right? I'm sure Dr. Phil knows Trump is full of shit. He has to know that. But it is a weird choice to ask him a question about, has this changed him, about his feelings, did he hug his kids extra hard? If you know Trump well enough, you know he's not going to be able to answer that question. Trump can't even fake his way through love for his children. I'm not sure what Dr. Phil expected to get out of that, but it goes to show how empty Trump is. Not to mention the border. Oh God, gotta fearmonger the border. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for their lives at the border, just as God would do. Build that wall, keep them out. Apparently, God doesn't enter that conversation, but it's more about, personally saving Donald Trump in his life. Wild. One last thing, though, since this was brought up in the discussion about Trump claiming he won the election, I just think it's important to continue hammering this home. This is not just about Jan 6. This is about the plan that Trump and his allies had to steal the election with a slate of fake electors. So I will link to this full story below the video. I'm sure you all realize it, but it's important. Like, you are interviewing somebody who tried to steal the election for himself. And we're treating this guy like he's normal. Like he's just a normal candidate. So this was why, they're all mad at Mike Pence, who disappeared, interestingly enough. So they wanted Pence to count the pro-Trump slate of electors as opposed to the real ones. So to give Trump the victory, the other option was to declare the election defective. That would give it to the delegations in the House of Representatives in various states to give Trump the election, or delay the certification altogether and give Trump some more time to figure it out. But again, not brought up here, not Dr. Phil, my buddy Phil, doesn't deny when Trump claims he won the election. Just a completely absurd conversation. And at the beginning of that clip, by the way, I didn't show it, but Dr. Phil claims he's going to ask Trump some tough questions. Look, maybe they come up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the clip will come out where Dr. Phil is hammering Trump on his lies about the election and his attempt to steal the election. But I highly doubt that.